Hi guys, welcome to the session. Today we are going to discuss some of the most commonly used idioms. So let's get started. The first idiom is far cry from, which means something that's very different from something else. Or you can say different from what is expected. Or if I talk about the sentences, one can say, he's a great player, but it is time for him to retire. His recent performances are a far cry from what they used to be during his peak years. Means it's quite different. It's not what we expected from him. Or let's say, I say, the heat and the dust of this city is a far cry from the clean and cool climes of the place where we used to live. Or I can also say, due to the roadblock, we were forced to sleep in tents with as many people as possible, a far cry from the comfortable rooms we had booked. Let's move on to the next idiom, which is feel a bit under the weather, which means you are ill. It also means to feel ill, to be drunk, intoxicated, feeling sick. For example, I say, I did not go to work today as I was feeling a bit under the weather. Or I say, John was feeling a bit under the weather, so he decided not to go to the movie with his friends. Or I can even say, we had a heavy lunch today, and now I'm feeling a bit under the weather. You know what, guys? The origin of this phrase, it can be traced to maritime sources. In the old days, when a sailor was not feeling, he would be sent below the deck to recover so that he could be away from the weather. So it's like he's under the weather. Yes. So let's move on to the next one, which is give the benefit of doubt, which means to be judged innocent unless the conviction is proved, or to treat a person as innocent till not proven convicted. Or let's say, to believe something is good about someone while there are chances of being bad, that they're equally true, which means to choose to believe someone even if you are not sure that the person is saying the truth. So to treat him innocent till he's really convicted. For example, I say, I don't believe that he didn't take the money, but I will give him the benefit of doubt until I can prove otherwise. Or I say, John deserves the benefit of doubt until the final results of racing competition are there. Or I can even say, I think John broke the window, but he denies it. I will give him the benefit of doubt until I can get the video from the surveillance company. Its origin is, however, unclear, but it's assumed that it is related to a phrase that's reasonable doubt. It's used in law. It means that the person is assumed innocent until it can be proven otherwise. So let's move on to the next idiom, which is hear through the grapevine. Yes. Or it can also be said here on the grapevine. It's one and the same, which means to hear rumors about something. Yes, it's rumors. Or to hear some news from someone who heard it from someone else. To get to know about things informally. For example, I say, I heard on the grapevine that he was being promoted, but I don't know anything further. Or I say, I heard on the grapevine that our neighbors were expecting a baby, but I don't know much about it. Or I can even say, we keep hearing it on the grapevine that the two co-stars of that movie are getting married, but they are not saying anything. Yes, so talking about the origin, after the invention of telegraph in mid 1800s, there was a term that's called grapevine telegraph. It was coined for rapid communication of news by word of mouth in closely knit communities who were usually the rural people and lived near grapevines as they grew grapes. So from there, this term came to origin. Moving on to the next one, hit the nail on the head, which means to do or say exactly the right thing or be accurately correct or right about something, find the exact answer, or to precisely describe the cause of a problem or situation. For example, I say, when my car didn't start, my friend took one look and said that it's due to a dead battery. Seems like he hit the nail on the head. Exact answer. Or I say, you found the problem, dear. You hit the nail on the head. Or I can even say, he hit the nail on the head when he said that most people don't change their ways and continue to blame the system for their ills. So this phrase has its roots in carpentry. However, it's not very clear as to when it started being used, but definitely, while hitting a nail, this piece, while hitting a nail, you would want to hit it on its head to get the desired result, because missing the head could mean causing damage to the surface or even injure. You might even cause an injury to yourself. Alright guys, so that is about hit the nail on the head. Let's talk about another hit, which is hit the sack, hit the sheets, hit the hay, which means go to bed or go to sleep. For example, after the video you say, I'm really tired after the video. Yeah, after all that exercise, I'm going to hit the sack, Mom. Or you can even say, after a long road trip, we were all dead tired and ready to hit the hay as soon as we reached home. Or you can also say that he wanted to hit the sack and did not feel like going out to the party with his friends. Or you can also say, after I hit the sack, I read for some time before turning off the lights and going to sleep. The phrase, this idiom, originated in America when mattresses, the thing that you use to sleep, they used to consist of old sacks which was filled with hay or straw. So if one used to go to bed, one would say, I'm going to hit the sack. Let's try and understand the next one. in the heat of the moment, which means overwhelmed by what's happening at the moment, or saying or doing something without thinking due to anger or excitement because it's overpowering, being so overwhelmed, or saying or doing something thoughtless. This is the word, thoughtless, as a response to the experience of the moment because you want to respond. For example, he really didn't mean what he said about you. He said it in the heat of the moment. Or I can say, he was very stressed and frustrated. And in the heat of the moment, quit his job. In sports, most offenses are actually committed in the heat of the moment. And sometimes we even feel bad about it. Or one can say we often do things in the heat of the moment, only to regret it later. When we think about it, I shouldn't have done that, I should have thought about it, but that the damage has already been done. Moving on, it takes two to tango, which means actions or communication need more than one person. Or one can say both people involved in a situation are equally responsible. Take a look. Both of them, they are equally responsible for it. Or certain actions, activities cannot be performed alone. They need two people to participate. Talk about a fight. Don't blame me for the argument. It takes two to tango. You're equally responsible. Or I say, we will never reach an agreement unless we sit down for a discussion. It takes two to tango. Or I can also say, I cannot do this all alone. Neither can you. It takes two to tango. So it came from the phrase or idiom. It came from South American dance. There's a dance called tango. Yes, it's a dance. And it requires two partners to perform. So from there, it gained popularity and subsequently being used as this expression. Next, jump on the bandwagon, which means to join a popular trend. Or one can also say, climb on the bandwagon. It can be jump, it can be climb, it can be get. All of them, they're acceptable. Which means to start doing something because it's a fashion. It is fashionable, it's profitable. Or aligning yourself with doing something that is fashionable. Look at this lady. Or it can also be said to join a cause or movement as it grows in popularity. I'm not one to jump on bandwagon just because something looks like it's going to be popular. Mercedes jumped on the bandwagon and introduced their own version of SUVs. My friends are obsessed with buying iPhone, but I refuse to get on the bandwagon. So let's move on to the next one. Keep something at bay. Or you can say keep at bay, hold at bay, or just at bay for that matter. This means to keep something dangerous at a safe distance. To have a safe distance from something or someone who's attacking you. Unable to approach something safely can also be said. Or prevent something bad from harming you. Just to prove, the scientists were able to keep the disease at bay with the help of modern medicine. The good nutrition will help keep COVID-19 at bay. Or I'll say the area was hit by a serious epidemic. But luckily, he could keep himself at bay. Let's move on to the next idiom, which is kill two birds with one stone. Accomplish two different things at the same time. Or solve two problems with one single action, which means achieve two ends with single effort. For example, he'd gone to Canada on a business trip. While there, he killed two birds with one stone and visited his relatives as well. Cycling to work kills two birds with one stone. It saves money and gives you some exercise. When I went for the interview, I caught up with a few old colleagues who now work there. It's like killing two birds with one stone. So it came from a story. This phrase originated from a story related to Greek mythology, where the person killed two birds with one stone in order to get the feathers of the birds and make the wings. So they both were caught somewhere and they wanted to have their own wings and just fly out. So that is from where we got this idiom. Moving on, guys, the next is last straw, which means to be the last in sequence of unpleasant things. One can also say to be the last tolerable thing after which something cannot be accepted because it's getting worse and worse. I say it is sad to see that people always wait until the last straw before they start to take any action. Or, I'm not going to wait for the last straw like you always do. I will do something about the problem much sooner than that. Or one can also say, the lawyer explained how this was the fight between them as the last straw. Definitely, it would have been the worst. So let's get over it. So this is the shortened version of this. There was a phrase that's the last straw that broke the camel's back. It was used in mid-1700s, and before that we had another phrase that's the last feather breaks the horse back. Before, the modern forms of transport, people used animals to transport their goods. So there's a story that tells of a rich man that used camels to transport his straws. He would load as much straw as he could on them in order to get the most of the animals. So one day, he proceeded to load one last piece of straw onto the camel's back. But unfortunately, the camel collapsed. His back had broken and the man was unable to move any straw. So, though it may just be a story, but it clearly proves the origin of this interesting idiom. So, phrases have changed over the years, but meanings definitely remain the same. Moving on, the next is let sleeping dogs lie, which means it's best to leave a situation as it is disturbing, or it might cause trouble. To leave things as they are in order to avoid disagreement. It's best not to talk of bad situation if people have forgotten about that. For example, since my manager did not ask me anything about coming late that day, I did not speak to him about it. It is best to let sleeping dogs lie. Or, it's not that the two parties have finally agreed over the issue. It's just that they have let sleeping dogs lie and things continue as they are. Or you can say, I wanted to tell her what I thought, but then I decided to let the sleeping dogs lie. This was used as a reference to waking up sleeping watchdogs who could be fierce. So it's like, let them lie, we'll do our job and we'll move out. So moving on to the next idiom, which is let the cat out of the bag. To let a secret out in the open. To allow something that is hidden to be revealed. To reveal something either by accident or as a surprise. For example, I have let the cat out of the bag. There's no point pretending that this job is working out for me. Or, she let the cat out of the bag and finally told her parents about her plans of getting married. One can also say, my boss did not let the cat out of the bag about the deal until all relevant contracts were signed. It also means one can say spill the beans. The same is spill the beans. That's like a synonym. Spill the soup. It's one and the same. Spill one's guts. So the phrase originates from the markets where animals were provided in bags and, which when out would be a surprise for the audience. The first origin of this phrase was it came out in the London magazine. In fact, after that, there have been many references found to the use of this idiom. Moving on, guys, the last one here is make a long story short, which means come to the point, cut a long story short. It can make a long story short can also be cut a long story short or long story short, which means get to the point. Give a short version or only the conclusion of a long story. Leave the details of a long story away. Abbreviate a long explanation into a short one. Just give the basic facts instead of a full explanation. For example, to make a long story short, he still stays in the apartment, but now it is owned by someone else. Or I'll say, to make a long story short, despite all the opposition, they finally got married and now are happy together. To cut a long story short, it was a horrific experience. But we managed to get through it in one piece. So that's all about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed, you liked it. If you did, please do let me know in the comments section. Thank you.